This is what happens when we record anytime after like 6 p.m.
Creepy Campus After Dark.
After dark while it's raining and Jeremy's thinking that his house is going to flood because I can hear droplets outside. But I don't know why. It is driving me crazy. That's exactly how I feel. What you're doing, that's not an exaggeration for how I feel right now.
Nevermore.
Oh my gosh. Sir.
Bum, 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 bum.
No, what I'm hearing is more. You remember the story I was doing the other day? The story where it had the tap, 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 tap. The Marble Boy story? Yeah. That's all I can think of now.
No, I'm pretty sure it's because that's where your gutter ends.
There's a gutter on that side?
Yeah.
I don't hear it on that side.
That's also the corner where water comes out occasionally, so...
Okay, don't bring logic into this. How dare you?
How dare I bring logic into
How
something?
dare you be logical here? Have you met me?
Yes, your name is Jeremy.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Coyd, co-host of Creepy Campus Podcast. That one was not as natural for me.
No, that...
Sorry. Oh, do you want me to do it again?
Well, now I'm hearing the drip.
I told you. So just so everyone knows, if my basement floods, I saw it coming and Doug ignored me. Anyway, also you can tell it's a different time of day because we're definitely drinking tea and coffee.
Yeah,
as opposed to like
coffee?
water.
Why are you drinking coffee?
I have a raging ADHD. We both know this doesn't actually affect me like that.
That's fair.
I will take my meds and I will be out. And neither of my meds are sleeping meds.
I'm just going to sit over here and dunk my tea bag.
Ew.
What?
That was just... I don't know if that's going to come across in the recording, but that was a lot. That was a lot. I didn't even hear you hit that. I'm telling you, this mic setup is much better.
Oh, chaos.
Anyway.
Chaos incarnate. Happy spooky season.
We are in the spoopy season.
We are.
I don't know what that was, but...
Yeah, it's October.
Well, technically it was October last week as well.
But this is the first episode we've recorded in
yeah.
October.
Yes, and we are in the midst of the spook. And it's the first day that it's like
It is fall
cold and fall and crispy. Have you ever had a Krispy Kreme?
How did I know? How did I know?
Was it crispy?
On the outside.
Yeah.
That's why it's called Krispy Kreme. It's crispy on the outside and creamy on the inside.
Ew.
What?
I don't know why I don't like that. There's some... No, never mind. Anywho's it, what's it?
So it could be crispy but not creamy.
Oh my God.
Literally sips tea.
Literally. Oh my God. It just occurred to me. I meant to get those pencils when we were at Lowe's today. I did not get said
Back
pencils.
to the raging ADHD.
I know. I took my my Adderall early this morning, so it's
gone.
It's way gone.
It's metabolized.
That 20 milligrams, it might be XR, but it's XR'd out. And...
Oh my gosh.
Okay, well, let's talk about spoopy things so that I can not get so distracted.
Okay, so
I can't promise anything, but I'll try.
right. So October means it's spooky season.
Spooky, spooky.
Time for crunchy leaves.
Spooky, scary skeletons. And
Spooky,
shivers
scary
down our spines.
skeletons. Hocus Pocus.
Ooh, we should watch that.
And you know what else October has been time for the past few years?
Getting your COVID booster.
Well, yes.
And your flu shot. And your biometrics for your health insurance.
Yes, hello. It's Spooky
It's
Lake.
Spooky Lake season.
It's Spooky Lake season.
Month. It's Spooky Lake month. I haven't seen a single one this month yet.
Oh, I've seen one every day.
I've got to go find what is their name?
Geo on
Geo.
TikTok does a series every October called Spooky Lake Month. 31 days of haunted hydrology and spooky things that happen in lakes. So to pay homage to that,
Sorry, I got really excited.
So to pay homage to that, I'm going to tell a spooky lake story.
That's on a college campus?
Yep.
Oh.
Spooky Lake Month.
Okay, when we post this one,
We'll tag them.
we got to tag them because that's amazing. That is one of my favorite creators on the internet.
All right.
So tell me a spooky lake story.
All right. But we have to go to the worst place in the world to do it.
Hold on, the worst place in the world. Are we talking like
The worst state.
Indiana? Oh, Florida?
No.
Sorry, everyone that if anyone's listening
You were
from
closer
those,
with Indiana.
what's worse than Indiana? I'm from
Ohio.
Kentucky. Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm from Kentucky. Like
I
we
don't
had
know why. We're all just we're all like Ohio kind of.
well, so growing up here, there were two things. Ohio, we just never considered it.
Right.
Like we pretended Ohio didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Indiana, we knew it existed, but it was always the birds fly upside down there.
Because not even a bird will. on
There
Indiana.
ain't nothing worth, me trying to be mildly clean with my speech.
It's a stretch for you, isn't it?
I know.
But we are going to talk about the Ohio State University
The Ohio State University.
in a world.
In a world where all Ohio State universities could be equal, the Ohio State University rules supreme. Who is she?
So, the Ohio State University, commonly called Ohio State or OSU,
Mm-hmm.
is a public land grant research university in Columbus, Ohio. There's actually a lot of Ohio State campuses, but we're going to talk about the main campus in Columbus today.
Okay.
It's a member of the University System of Ohio, was founded in 1870 as the state's land grant university and the 9th university in Ohio. University's endowment of $7.4 billion.
Billion?
$7.4 billion.
Is that their current endowment?
Yes.
Oh my God.
It's among the largest in the world.
Do you know, oh my gosh, the amount that they're just raking off the top of that
Mm-hmm.
to operate on?
Yep. OSU has a total enrollment currently of around 45,000 undergraduates
That is so many undergrad
and
students.
14,000 graduate and doctoral students.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's maybe it's just I don't know anything about Ohio State University.
Right. So one common thing most people think, know/reference when talking about Ohio State is the word "the," right?
Yeah, the whole they got it copywritten, didn't they?
On June 22nd, 2022, the United States Patent and Trademark Office granted the university a trademark on the word "the" in relation to clothing such as t-shirts, baseball hats, etc., distributed and or sold through athletic or collegiate channels. So they are the only school that can reference themselves as "the" on clothing.
Oh my God. That just gets too that's too much.
Yep. Another thing that's a big deal for the Ohio State is their campus, which is regularly regarded as one of the premier public university campuses in the U.S.
Okay.
In fact, the Olmsted brothers, who were the primary designers of Central Park in New York City, are responsible for a large portion of the original sections of the Columbus campus, including the Oval, an 11-acre quad around which the first buildings
I don't know
were
why the way you
constructed.
said oval.
Yeah.
I didn't imagine the way it was a quad.
Right, but it's called the Oval, and it's oval shaped,
Okay.
but it is what would serve as a quad on most campuses.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another interesting fact that I just thought was cool when I was doing some research, when they laid out the campus street grid, they rotated it 12 degrees to differentiate from the city grid.
Oh. Okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like to make it just not quite fit.
Mm-hmm. And you can see it. If you look at a map even today, you can see where the campus grid is offset from the city grid.
Oh.
But another prominent feature of OSU's campus is Mirror Lake.
I've heard of Mirror Lake.
So, according to University legend, the Columbus campus actually sits where it does today because of Mirror Lake and the refreshing spring waters that once fed it. So, years before it was known as Ohio State University, trustees charged with finding the perfect home for the new Ohio Agricultural and Mechanical College
Oh my gosh.
visited the property of William Neal, who was a farmer with a large farm outside Columbus.
Okay.
Touring his land, they stopped to enjoy several long, cool drinks from a small spring.
Refreshing.
After drinking his fill, a German trustee by the name of Keller is alleged to have taken a seat next to the spring and said, "It's hard to get a Dutchman away from a spring like that."
Why does that feel kind of like
And so,
problematic?
right? He was referencing himself.
I know, but it felt problematic.
But so the decision and Buckeye history were made,
God.
and that is where the lake sits. So Mirror Lake holds about 666,000 gallons of water.
That's all. That's a lot of liquid.
Yeah. As the university has grown and evolved over the years, so has Mirror Lake. When construction caused the spring to go dry in the 1920s. Yeah.
They messed that up. We are always out here being humans and messing stuff up like that.
Yep. But when it happened, the classes of 1927, 1928, and 1930 stepped in to create and install a memorial fountain, which helped fill the lake with city water.
Okay.
During the 1930s, the mud bottom of the lake was paved over with bricks to make it easier to clean.
Interesting. Okay. How big is the? Okay, you already said gallons wise, but I don't know.
Find anything anywhere that measured what the surface area of it was.
Right.
Comparing it, if I remember from a map where you could see the oval, which is 11 acres.
Right.
Mirror Lake is maybe a third of that.
So it's a pond. It's a
pond.
glorified pond.
No, it's Mirror Lake.
It's like City Lake where I'm from, which is a glorified pond. It's just a big pond.
Yes. But during
not to
Yeah.
take a massive dump on OSU's Mirror Lake.
Ironically, chlorine was added in the 1960s to eliminate the sulfuric smell of water that was being pumped in from the nearby Olentangy River.
You really went for that.
I did. I made a choice. It's the only time I have to say it. Just moving on.
I have no idea if it was a good one, but we can go with it.
Yep. So throughout OSU's history, there were traditions of throwing freshmen in the lake. There was, I don't have the full story in front of me. I just remember this from researching. It was freshman students had to wear a certain hat.
Okay.
And if upperclassmen caught them without that hat, they could throw them in the lake.
See, in my mind, I'm like, oh, my young brain goes, oh, yeah, whatever. But then I realize after, we just got back from New York, and for some reason on that trip, we were talking about water. I think we were walking by one of the bodies of water in Central Park. Multiple of my students don't know how to swim. And I didn't realize this.
Yeah, that's weird.
So, but that makes me think I go, oh, it's no big deal. Throw them in the lake.
Yeah,
but then maybe not.
There also used to be a tradition of the freshman class and the sophomore class having a tug of war across the lake.
That sounds fun.
And so you would win by pulling the other class into the lake.
That sounds fun. You would have to agree to do it.
Yeah.
Even we could do that nowadays and be like,
yeah.
Do you agree to this?
Starting in the late 60s, there was a tradition of students jumping into Mirror Lake during Michigan Week.
Were they naked?
No.
Oh, wait. Is that when they do it's super cold or something?
No. So Michigan Week is the week that Ohio State and Michigan play each other in football.
Oh.
It's a big rivalry.
Do you smell toast?
No, I just...
Rivalry?
Yes. That is a hard word with my speech impediment.
Oh my gosh.
When I was in speech therapy, it was R's and L's that were mixed up. So
I forget about that all the time because you don't actually have that much of an issue with it outside of specific words.
Like rivalry.
Hey, you got it right.
Yeah. It takes a lot of concentration. But so students would jump into the lake. It was known as the Mirror Lake jump. But while it was never officially sanctioned, after several injuries and a couple of deaths, actually, due to some unfortunate accidents over the years, the Mirror Lake jump was fully banned and starting in 2015.
Oh my God.
So used to, campus police would just like stand around and make sure people didn't get too crazy.
Yeah.
Now they actually drain the lake
Oh my
during
God.
Michigan Week to prevent people from doing it.
To be fair, as much as we did when I was an undergrad with the fountain,
Yeah.
like students, I'm not saying me specifically, but students do not sip your tea towards me.
I actually leaned away from you.
Students would be wild, and they would like put stuff in the fountain. They would be in the fountain. There
Anytime-
are pictures from my SGA cabinet that I was on in the fountain here.
Yep.
So I'm thinking, okay, what we did there, if we amped that up to 10,000.
Exactly. And so while our story takes place on the shores of Mirror Lake, it actually predates the Mirror Lake jumps, because we're actually going all the way back to 1903.
Hey, it's when Lindsay was founded.
Oh.
That's why my brain automatically goes into tour guide Jeremy.
At this time, Dr. Frederick Converse Clark was head of economics and sociology at Ohio State.
Both?
Yep.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, think like the effects that economy has on society,
Yeah,
the effects people
that's
have
not
on
really
the
a thing
economy.
anymore that
No.
people would be both.
Right. So Dr. Clark fancied himself a speculator and was known among his fellow faculty for always talking about the next big investment.
So talking out his rear end.
So remember, this is also late 1800s, early 1900s. This is like the Gilded Age.
Yeah.
Everyone's trying to make it big.
This is pre Great Depression, so
Yeah, this is like
30 years prior.
We are
yeah.
manifesting our destiny. We are going to
Oh
be
God.
like you're like
Manifest that destiny.
like at the age of the robber baron, like
yeah.
that kind of thing. So right around 1900, 1901, 1902, Dr. Clark had actually convinced several of his fellow faculty to go in with him and invest in an oil drilling venture in what would become the state of Alaska. At this point, it's
Well.
like the District of Alaska.
Is it really? Is
Yeah,
that what they called it?
It
The
wasn't even
district?
the Alaskan territory yet. It was the
Oh.
District of Alaska.
Okay, District of Columbia.
However, in September 1903, news broke that the venture was an utter failure.
Oh, well.
All investments were lost, and the investors would see no return whatsoever.
That's what happens when you gamble like that.
So, legend states that at the urging of his wife, Dr. Clark went to OSU President William Oxley Thompson to ask for financial support, having overextended himself to make his investment, and asked for help to mediate with his colleagues who'd followed his bad advice.
I don't think that that's the responsibility of the institution, is it?
Well, I think it was more about asking the president personally than asking the institution for help.
I mean, I guess, yeah.
But also, institutions operated much differently back then.
That's true. That is true.
So some versions of the story state that the faculty told Clark, "Hey, it's okay. We get it. Things happen. Everything's going to work out."
That's a very
Like
measured response. Yeah.
like, yeah, you gave us the advice, but we're the ones that invested in it.
Which is the truth. I mean,
Yeah. But no financial support was offered, so they didn't turn around and be like, "Hey, we'll help you out."
it's like, no, you did this too.
No. Other versions of the story actually state that President Thompson, along with other faculty, literally laughed in Clark's face when he asked for help.
I mean, I can't say I wouldn't be inclined to do that as well. But that's just me.
So what we do know for sure, though, seemingly, is that consumed by guilt of misleading his fellow faculty and causing his own family's financial
Oh,
ruin.
God.
Yeah. So Dr. Frederick Converse Clark took his own life with a pistol. His body would be found by a student in a vegetable garden near Mirror Lake.
Why in a vegetable garden?
It's just
Interesting.
multiple sources indicate that Dr. Clark's wife was adamant that she would never let OSU forget the fact that they didn't help her husband in his time of need.
Okay. I mean, I have feelings about it, but
Yeah.
I don't. I hate the whole blame game in those situations.
Right. So flash forward 19 years, and the vegetable garden is long gone. In its place is Pomeranian Hall.
Pomeranian Hall.
That's what I keep reading. That's what I kept reading every time I saw it. Opened in 1922 as OSU's first women's center,
Okay.
Pomerene hosts a gym, pool, meeting study spaces, and study spaces reserved specifically for the female student body.
I'm here for that.
Because at this time, it was considered improper and distracting for male and female students to study in the same space.
God forbid, are we going to like accidentally see someone's elbow or their ankle?
Scandal.
Scandal. It's like even moving into nowadays, like a clavicle? Oh no, what will I do? I can't control myself. Why does it go British?
Every time.
It's the dialect I've had to do the most, so I guess I just like slipped down into that.
Mm-hmm. But almost immediately, there were reports of something else in Pomerene Hall. Doors were known to lock and unlock, seemingly on their own. Doors that were locked would seemingly, you would turn around and they'd be standing open, but still be locked.
So like it just flew open itself.
Yep. A former building coordinator reported the feeling of being watched as she did closing rounds, a feeling that only stopped when she would acknowledge its presence.
I mean, that honestly, acknowledging presence has been proven to do a really good job. Whether now that's where the skeptical brain comes in and goes, it's because it's a placebo and it wasn't real to begin with and blah, blah, blah. But if it is real, it's acknowledging presence and saying, I get it. I see you. I hear you.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't have to do anything anymore because I saw you. Isn't that what you wanted?
Yep. Multiple students and faculty members have said they heard footsteps walking up and down halls and staircases, seemingly unable to catch up with them, regardless if they actually tried to catch up.
I've had those. I don't like those experiences.
So nowadays, Pomerene Hall serves as the Department of Art History, along with some other offices and departments. And in a frighteningly modern version of the story, one department claimed that a staff member entered their office late one night to hear multiple computers, which were actually used to read text aloud to students with visual impairments,
Yeah.
stating, "Hello, hello, hello."
No, ma'am. No.
It's the rise of the machines.
Well, I just don't like any of that anyway because, what did I watch recently that was a thing?
I mean, I freak out if Siri goes off in the middle of the night for seemingly no reason, so.
Right. I mean, it's, there was something that, it was a podcast, it was a serialized podcast that was like one long story.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like they would get phone calls and it would all be that same, hello, hello,
Oh, it's
hello.
It's like when you get the telemarketer calls.
Ooh. If it's a telemarketer, I'm just like, bye.
Mm.
But if it's that, I get freaked out.
Yeah. So room 213 in Pomerene Hall seems to be especially active.
Oh.
In the 1930s and 40s, the room was used to host teas, receptions, and the like. It's actually one of the few spaces on campus where, at the time, that male and female students could mix.
Mm-hmm.
There was actually a special door for a chaperone to hang out in where they could see out into the room.
Like a two-way mirror.
Basically.
That feels
It was like a secret little hidden
creepy.
door. So they could pop in to the room without people knowing
that they were there.
that they were there.
So they can see people without their knowledge, without their consent.
Just making sure they're not doing anything they shouldn't be doing.
Mm-hmm. Put that balloon between them.
Multiple individuals, though, have reported seeing the figure of a woman in a pink party dress glide across room 213 to the window overlooking Mirror Lake before vanishing.
I don't like that either. I never like a spirit of a woman in a white dress.
It's not a white dress.
What'd you say?
A pink party dress.
Okay, in my head, it's like a light color. I don't like that.
Well, you're really not going to like then. It's not the only spot the pink lady is known to appear.
The pink lady. That
sounds like the Grease.
No, I was going to say that's my nickname.
So, in fact, the ghost that is spotted on OSU's campus the most, which is kind of a weird claim to like, the most reported ghost. The ghost with the most.
The ghost with the mostest?
Yeah. Is that of a woman surrounded by a pink mist with her hands in an old-fashioned fur muff gliding across Mirror Lake. The apparition is seen most often on cold nights from late fall through spring, giving the impression that the ghostly woman is skating across the lake.
I was going to say, I can just imagine her like, very Princess Peach-esque
Mhm.
with the flutter of the bottom of the dress.
Many students that claim to have seen the Pink Lady state that it would happen on a moonlit night, and that through the trees around the lake they would see a pink mist slowly come together to form the outline of a woman in a pink gown gliding effortlessly across the water.
I was not into this, but I'm kind of into it now.
So I did find a variant on the Dr. Clark story on Reddit that could potentially shed some light on the skating ghost.
Oh.
So in this version, Dr. Clark and his wife were known to hang out at Mirror Lake in the wintertime. Dr. Clark would offer hot chocolate to passing students, while Miss Clark would skate on the frozen lake.
So, do we have confirmation of any of this?
No, we don't have confirmation about that portion.
Okay, but the rest of it we do.
Yes. There are multiple reports and stories in The Lantern, which is OSU's campus newspaper,
Mm-hmm.
of students, faculty, staff having these experiences of seeing
Right.
the Pink Lady. There are multiple sources of that, but this was the only version of the story I could find that accounted for that. And it was actually varied in a couple other ways, but
I just like,
it almost seems like at that point it's someone changed the story to match what people have seen.
yeah, I understand. I just am like, I'm intrigued because it's a spooky lake.
So, like I said, many sources claim that Miss Clark vowed to remind OSU of the disservice they did to Dr. Clark for refusing to help him. So a lot of people think that the Pink Lady is Mrs. Clark staying around as a reminder.
Oh, as a reminder. Okay, because I was like, she doesn't seem malevolent in any way.
It doesn't seem malevolent, but definitely just wants to, be there.
Don't forget.
I will say Pomeranian Hall also opened just a couple of years, or right around the time she died.
Oh, that's even worse.
Yeah. She died. I couldn't find an exact date of when she passed, but it seems like it was in the 20s.
She sent her spirit out on that building.
So many sources claim that she was there to, remind them. But just as many sources claim that OSU faculty were nothing but supportive and forgiving of Dr. Clark.
Right.
But an article published in the New York Times on September 20th, 1903 makes me wonder if there was something else afoot. And this is what you saw me react to earlier.
I know. We were literally sitting on the couch and you went, what?
So the article reads, Professor Frederick C. Clark of the Ohio State University committed suicide this morning, shooting himself in the forehead with a .32 caliber revolver.
God, why are they so explicit?
The shooting occurred about 7:45 a.m., but the body was not found for nearly an hour afterward. The body was found lying at the root of a tree, face downward, by a farmhand. 2 bullets had been fired into his brain by the unfortunate man. President Thompson and Secretary Cope were notified immediately, and the coroner was summoned. The face was badly bruised by the fall of the body, and there were powder marks on it. Why were there 2 bullets?
And without going into this too far, statistically, it doesn't make a lot of sense that he would have fallen forward that way.
Yeah.
This man's was killed. This man's was murdered.
The fact that it was 2 bullets in the brain.
Because you're not going to get the second one off.
Now, and I even looked it up, because obviously I don't know anything about guns. I looked up, what is a
Right.
.32 caliber revolver? It's one of the ones you have to pull
Yeah,
back.
you have to actually, it's a standard revolver.
Yeah. And there are reports of people shooting themselves and it not working the first time, so they shoot themselves again.
Right,
But it's usually not into the brain.
Yeah, this is...
It sounds like a cover-up.
It does, and it's really frustrating because it just granted it's 1903, the understanding around mental health and suicide are not good.
Yeah.
But it's so frustrating because it's no, y'all just going to slap the term suicide or self-harm onto this so that you can get away with just killing someone.
So, I will also say that the Lantern published the campus newspaper. It seems like were some of the first people to break the story.
Yeah.
They misspelled his name, which caused it to be misspelled in the University of Michigan alumni magazine.
Oh no.
Where Dr. Clark went to Michigan,
Yeah.
University of Michigan. They misspelled his name there, and the New York Times misspelled it.
So you can't even find this information unless you intentionally misspell stuff.
That's weird.
We are headed into true crime meets creepy
Oh yeah,
right here, and I don't know how I feel about all
It
that.
smells like a cover-up.
It absolutely smells like a cover up. This does not even remotely seem like it was plausible the way it was initially
So
presented.
for cover-up meets ghost story, 8 out of 10 spookies.
8 out of 10 spookies. But also, like, it makes way more sense that she would absolutely haunt the ever-loving crap out of this place
If he got murdered, yeah.
if he was murdered. Like, that is such a stronger motive than a financial motive.
And also the New York Times article is the only one I could find. Like, the only one I could actually find that said that. That said it was 2.
Ooh.
Yeah.
My spookarometer is going off.
Well, I got some pictures.
Yay. Where are they?
Oh, I didn't.
You didn't share them with me?
Oh, I guess not. Whoops.
They weren't in the folder.
I started the thing. I guess I just didn't think to. Here, I'll move them real quick. Do.
Doug didn't share his stuff with me, and now I'm sad.
Shared.
Oh, wait, something just popped up. Ohio State.
All right. So that first picture is actually a picture of that New York Times article, which is just a quick little.
Oh, yeah, it's more just
It's
like
like a
a
wire.
quick.
Yeah.
Leaves a widow and 2 small children.
Mm-hmm.
Graduate of the University of Michigan and was an assistant professor in Leland Stanford University for 2 years. He was at the head of the Department of Economics and Sociology at Ohio State. Will probably be made at Ann Arbor, Michigan, his burial.
Yep.
I like we don't really know, but probably.
Yep. Next one, that is Mirror Lake, as it looked in 1894, 1947, and then 1982. So you can see how it's changed a little bit.
Not gonna lie, I prefer the first one.
Well, yeah.
It's like spooky but fun.
Mm. And then the next picture is Mirror Lake as it is today with Pomeranian Hall in the background.
Why do I feel like Pomeranian Hall's not that pretty? Like, it kind of detracts from the lake.
Well, you can also tell they've started planting much thicker vegetation around the lake to try to discourage people from getting near it.
Yeah. Since you're not allowed to get in the lake anymore.
Yep. And then the last picture is Pomeranian Hall as it looks today.
Okay, from this direction, it looks fine.
Mm-hmm. It is very much like, we're going to try to make this look as collegiate as possible.
Yeah, let's take that and just slap it on everything. Take the collegiate vibe.
Ohio State's website described Pomeranian Hall as a Jacobean Renaissance revival. Jacobean revival. Jacobean?
I think it's Jacobean.
Yeah.
I had to study it in a design course once, like years ago.
Yeah.
It's a very specific style, but it's literally
college. It's
yeah.
collegiate.
Well, at least it's pretty. I do like those old pictures of Mirror Lake, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're really pretty. It looks like a foot. I've always thought that about lots of bodies of water. They kind of, because they always almost have like where the arch of the foot would be.
Oh yeah, because it narrows at where the inlet is, and it broadens.
It always kind of looks like a foot.
You look like a foot.
Sometimes.
Put that.
Yeah, sometimes. Sorry. Okay. Well, I guess it's my turn.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we are going to go over to another state that is not as widely hated. We're going to go to Missouri.
Put me out on Missouri.
But see, you go to that, and I'm like, well, anyway. But we're going to the University of Missouri, Kansas City.
So, basically,
Everything's
Kansas?
up to date in Kansas City. Da-da-da-da. You literally saw me in the show years ago.
Sure, Jan.
It's in Oklahoma.
I know.
Was like, you can't really be that out of this, can you? But I actually didn't know there was a University of Missouri, Kansas City. I had no idea. There are other institutions in the area, but I had no idea about this one for some reason. But
I mean, it's a regional branch of a larger state institution.
sort of. I mean, it is now, but as I suck down more coffee. Okay, so the University of Missouri. Oh, also, all my notes are in the top, my sources. So I will give those to Doug. But the University of Missouri Kansas City, or UMKC, is a public research institution in Kansas City, Missouri. It's part of the University of Missouri system and has a medical school, which,
that's cool.
big fancy, right? As of 2020, the university's enrollment exceeded 16,000 students. It's the largest university and third largest college in Kansas City in the metropolitan area. And it is classified among R2 doctoral universities' high research activity.
Wait, did you say it's the largest university and the third largest college?
Mm-hmm. I don't know why it's worded that way, but it is the largest one in Kansas City.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, that doesn't make sense. It's the largest university.
Is it the third largest in the state of Missouri?
That would make more sense. Might be the third largest in the state of Missouri.
Also don't know if that's true, but...
Dadgummit, Wikipedia. You done messed me up. Well, anyway. It is a very, fairly large institution for it to be like a branch.
Yeah.
But that's where we come into a little bit of a different conversation, because the school has its roots in the Lincoln and Lee University movement, first put forth by the Methodist Church.
Okay.
And its bishop, Ernest Lynn Waldorf, in the 1920s. So the proposed university, which was to honor Abraham Lincoln and Robert E. Lee, was supposed to be built on the Missouri-Kansas border at the 75th and State Line Road. It's a very specific thought process here.
Yeah.
It was where the Battle of Westport, which was the largest battle west of the Mississippi River during the American Civil War, took place.
Mm-hmm.
The centerpiece of the school was to be a national memorial marking the tomb of an unknown Union soldier and an unknown Confederate soldier. So it was this very big, statement.
It's like the Unity Candle in a way.
Not the Unity Candle. So proponents of the school said that it would be a location, quote, where North met South and East met West. They're really trying here. You can tell. The Methodist interest reflected the church's important role in the development of the Kansas City area through the Shawnee Methodist Mission, which was the second capital of Kansas throughout history,
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, best laid plans, right?
Mm-hmm.
As the Methodists started having problems piecing together the necessary property, other civic leaders, including J.C. Nichols, began pushing to create a cultural center on either side of Brush Creek, just east of the Country Club Plaza, which is, just keep these in your head.
Okay.
According to this plan, the Nelson Atkins Museum of Art and Kansas City Art Institute would be built north of Brush Creek around the estate of the Kansas City Star publisher William Rockhill Nelson, because guess what? Just like in your story, it's all these people that have land. They're like, I'll donate it so you can use it for this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, come on now. But it was supposed to also be a private, non-sectarian University of Kansas City. And it was initially proposed as a junior college, and said that would be south of the creek. So it would kind of split this creek.
Okay.
We'd have this cultural center above it, and then the University of Kansas City below.
Mm-hmm.
And in addition, they wanted to build a hospital around the estate, very, very close, but that hospital was never built. All these people, they really just said, it's the 20s.
Let's just build another town.
That's really what it feels like. So in 1930, after the Methodists had brought the Kansas City Dental School into their fold, the two plans were merged. So the Methodist plan with the Lee Brown Lee Brown, was that right?
Lincoln
Lee University, and then this non-sectarian style university, they were kind of together. So the new school was to be called Lincoln and Lee, the University of Kansas City. That's a long
That's
title.
a really long name and a slant rhyme.
It is. And plans were underway to develop it into a 4-year institution. The two groups were to squabble back and forth, with Ernest Newcomb attempting to mediate, and the church did not maintain its ties, and the Lincoln and Lee name was completely abandoned in the process. They never even got there. Like, they wanted this so bad they didn't even get there. Then the school announced that it would start if 125 students enrolled.
If.
So the target was met, and the University of Kansas City, or KCU for short, held its first classes in October 1933 with a faculty of 17 and a student enrollment of 264. Now, I have issues going in.
Okay.
University of Kansas City. That would be UKC, not KCU. KCU would be Kansas City University. Why is there no rhyme or reason?
Why is University of Kansas KU?
Oh, because they can't be UK. I know that one because that's a whole, because I'm from Kentucky. That's why I know that one. But anyway, so the University of Kansas grew quickly, soon incorporated other existing local private institutions of higher learning, and they kind of sucked them up.
Like all.
I was going to say Western.
Like a lot of schools. A lot of schools.
So they absorbed the Kansas City School of Law, which was founded in the 1890s and was located in Kansas City. That happened in 1938. The Kansas City Western Dental College followed in 1941, and the Kansas City College of Pharmacy merged in 1943. These things existed in such weird ways. Now, this was followed by the Kansas City Conservatory of Music in 1959. And during this period, they established their School of Administration, School of Education, and Division for Continuing Education. They really, boomed during this period. On July 25th, 1963, at the urging of one of the alums, Hillary A. Bush, who was a prosecutor, he was an attorney. I think he was a prosecutor. Yeah, sorry. The university became part of the University of Missouri system, and $20 million worth of assets, including 23 buildings, were transferred to the University of Missouri.
Yeah.
It's an interesting way. But at the time, KCU had 3,300 students and 175 full-time faculty. And at the time, Missouri already owned campuses in Columbia and Rolla. Is that right?
Yep.
Rolla. Accordingly, the university's name was changed to the University of Missouri, Kansas City. After this, UMKC established the School of Graduate Studies, the School of Medicine, the School of Nursing, the School of Basic Life Sciences, which later became the School of Biological Sciences, and then the School of Computing and Engineering. So it's had this really weird long history, but the basic idea, and what we're going to see when we talk about the specific thing that I'm going to talk about, is that the University of Missouri, Kansas City has basically always, since its inception, been a major player in the community that is Kansas City. Even though there are other institutions there, this one is the big one.
Well, yeah, it's the big one, so it's the one that has the biggest influence.
Did I hear something?
I hear like a plane or something.
I'm scaring myself tonight. I don't know what it is.
Spooky.
No, I heard what sounded like a man groaning.
I hear the drone of like an airplane.
I got a shiver. Anyway, I think I'm gonna force you to take me to get ice cream after this.
You're parked behind me, but okay.
Oh my gosh. Okay. But anyway, so they're major players in this community, right? Really, really big deals. But we're focused more specifically on the University Playhouse. Shocker. What were you going to say?
It sounds like something that's like just off campus.
No, it's literally, it just doesn't have like a donor name.
Yeah.
So it's the University Playhouse. But let's talk about this a little bit because where it comes from is kind of cool. The University Playhouse at UMKC was a $300,000 project by Clarence R. Decker and his wife, Mary Bell Decker. They both decided a small theater would be good for the university. I'm here for it. The Playhouse was originally this large auditorium at Camp Crowder, but as the war ended, it was bought by UMKC and completely redesigned. They literally took a bunch of buildings from Camp Crowder and like picked them up and moved them
Oh.
over to campus. It was really interesting because part of the way this one worked is they sat it over top of a basement to give it more height so that they could use it.
Yeah.
It was interesting. But so the stage was actually larger than your normal, quote, little theater, which comes from, I didn't do all the research because my brain automatically filled it in. There was a whole movement around the time just before the regional theater movement called the Little Theater Movement that created a bunch of small theaters throughout the country.
Mm-hmm.
So it was actually 98 feet by 34 feet, which was a pretty big space, but still small. So it allowed for about 500 seats. The proscenium was 28 feet by 18 feet, and the stage was equipped with 28 sets of lines for drops and curtains and borders. The switchboard and lighting facilities were of recent designs for the time period, which, you know, for me is like, what were they doing? Just like throwing a lever to turn a light on.
When was this again?
This was in well, it'll open in 1948.
Okay.
So it's not as bad as what I'm saying, but the stage sets were actually shifted on wagons, which was kind of interesting. Like they had tracks where they could come on and off. The orchestra pit was able to be raised and lowered hydraulically, which is fancy.
Yeah.
There were rooms for costumes, props, and movable equipment.
Are you jealous?
I'm disgustingly jealous
You're
right now.
jealous of this
of this
army surplus
Army
playhouse?
surplus rinky-dink theater. Like, genuinely.
I don't think you're allowed to call it rinky-dink.
It's
sir.
not. It's not rinky-dink. It's rinky-dink by many standards. Not by mine.
They have separate rooms for costumes and props.
And it's not
A barn.
a barn. Oh, I didn't tell anyone. Ooh, there was a spider that crawled on me while I was helping get some of those costumes yesterday, and I screamed a lot. And Dr. Tapscott just looked at me like I was crazy. Stop it. Anyway, in addition to all of that in this building, there were offices and classrooms, a smaller circle in the round theater, and a furnished green room, and a 10-panel painting loaned to the university by Thomas Hart Benton. Like a beautiful painting for the space.
Mm-hmm.
How insanely cool was this? Now, here's where we get some interesting stuff, because we still haven't gotten to the haunting part of this. I'm just giving you all an idea. So, owing to the building's initial design to serve the needs of military installation, there was actually no room in the way it was made for a lobby. Like, it just wasn't set up well for that. So this led to the decision to create the decorative fireplace that was at the front of the building, along with a patio to offer space for people to gather before the show and during intermission.
Oh, okay.
I love this. Wait till you see the pictures. The patio was constructed of Arkansas stone and designed by Rick Fillmore to include a large fireplace within it. One of the masons who helped create the structure referred to the substantial edifice as a fireplace to end all fireplaces. It was designed so that smoke would curl upwards through two sculpted ceramic masks symbolizing comedy and tragedy. So as you had the fire here on either side, there was a comedy and a tragedy mask, and the smoke would billow from each of those.
Okay.
It's so cool.
Yeah, but I'm seeing some
some weird stuff.
Yeah.
We still haven't gotten there yet. Okay, but it did first open in December of 1948 with a gala performance of Maxwell Anderson's Elizabeth the Queen. You hear that, don't you?
I think it's your laptop.
I think I need a new laptop.
It was the fan, I think.
He's very loud. That's okay. It shouldn't come through on the audio anyway. Sorry, everyone. But Jane Cowell guest starred in, along with Blevins Davis as the guest director. The small theater became a bustle of action throughout the years, with a tradition of bringing professional actors and directors to come work with the students.
Does Kansas City have a theater scene?
Oh, yeah.
At this point, did they have a theater scene?
This is kind of what establishes it.
Oh, okay.
We'll talk a little bit more about it in a second.
Mm-hmm.
But since opening in 1948, the University Playhouse did have that tradition of bringing in actors and directors to work with students. And one of those actors or actresses, I have a hard time sometimes, was a local woman named Vaughn Burkholder. Okay. She had a short career on Broadway and was a petite in size and wore very tall heels to compensate. That'll come into play. With her love for theater, she would often observe casting calls and rehearsals from the catwalk above the stage. Okay. On the night of October 23rd, 1957, Vaughn's husband dropped her off at the Playhouse, and just as she walked in, she was greeted by the stage manager and suddenly collapsed. They called an ambulance, but it was too late. Vaughn died of a heart attack right in the manager's arms. I know, isn't that awful? I don't know. That part makes me feel really sad. So, since Vaughn's death, strange activities began to happen in the University Playhouse. Reports of lights turning on and off, which theater.
Yeah.
Campus police on multiple occasions found all the doors and windows open in the middle of the night as they heard sounds of a performance, including audience laughter and applause.
That's a lot.
Yet upon entry, they discovered no one was there. Sometimes guests of the theater would claim that they saw a woman on the catwalk. However, when they asked the ushers who it was, there would be no one there. The most interesting of all, the stage manager would often hear the distinct, chilling sound of Vaughn's footsteps in those high heels on the stage when he was in the building alone. Yeah. Sorry, I love this whole idea, this whole concept.
I'm trying really hard not to make a reference to The Devil Wears Prada.
Because you know I've never seen it.
Because I know you've never seen it for some reason.
I've just never seen it. I don't know.
But, because the clackers.
Is that what they refer to certain shoes as?
Well, they refer to women that wear those shoes because of the sound they make, their heels make on the marble floor.
Listen, I've known many people of many genders who have very specific sounds to their feet, and I associate it with like either like freaking out, or I associate it with, oh, I know who that is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's one thing to know who that is. It's another to be like, and what I gather is that this is not like the fear as much as it is
just the distinct.
Like, I know that sound, and she's dead. She's like big dead. She died in here, which, I mean.
But also to make the sound of an entire audience.
That part is so cool to me.
So much energy.
And bizarre, but very cool. The University Playhouse was eventually torn down. All that remains today is the Playhouse patio, located on the southwest corner of the Miller Nichols Library and Learning Center area. And it has that fireplace still. It's not functional anymore, but it does still have it. Well, I'll show you a picture in a minute. So after the University Playhouse was torn down in 1978, the Olson Performing Arts Theater, or Olson Performing Arts Center, was built to replace it. The Kansas City Repertory Theater, KC Rep, which is what they go by in most settings. I've heard of them for years. They moved inside to the Spencer Theater, located inside the Olson Performing Arts Center in 1979. But it wasn't long before things started to occur there as well. It wasn't even built on the same location. Like, it was just another theater. Mm-hmm. Lights would mysteriously turn on and off. One evening, a costume designer left a project unfinished only to find it finished in the morning.
That's helpful.
It's honestly, the amount of times I've had to leave things unfinished in the theater to come back and finish them the next day, knowing I'm exhausted. If some little gremlin or gnome or ghost,
elf,
they're
like cobblers, right?
Why does my first thing go to gremlin?
House elf.
Yes, but if someone finished it for me, I'd be so happy.
It's like an intern that can't complain. Ghost turn.
That was bad. But another time, an actress actually fell coming down the staircase from the catwalk in this theater. And again, like in the University Playhouse, Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped a sentence. She felt an invisible force stop her fall mid-air and steady her on the steps to keep her from falling down the rest of the way. But then again, like in the University Playhouse, guests would ask ushers, who is the woman up in the catwalk? Of course, there's no one there, right? So I love that it's not just students that are now being like haunted on the campus by this, and that the original building's gone, but we're still here. So, and this is my last piece of this haunting. In 1985, an actress named Laura San Giacomo. God, I'm so white. I am so sorry. She was cast as Juliet in K.C. Rep's production of Romeo and Juliet.
Mm-hmm.
And one evening, Laura went on stage to perform a scene where she danced around the stage by herself. As she set out across the stage, suddenly an older woman appeared in full costume dancing with her, step by step. Laura kept her composure and completed the scene. She then rushed off stage and found the stage manager and asked, "Who was that woman on stage with me?" He replied calm and unfazed, "It was just the stage ghost."
Just the stage ghost.
And that is the haunting of both the University Playhouse and now the Spencer Theater in the Oslin Performing Arts Center, which I'm just going to say it about that last sentence. That's how most of us are within the theater. We're
Just
like,
the ghost.
it's just the ghost. It's the ghost. What do you want me to tell you? What do you want me to tell you?
Like, did other people see?
Mm-mm. No one else saw. But they know it well enough to know that's who it was.
I'm starting to think you theater people just use ghosts as an excuse to see things.
We're not like just crazy. I said just crazy. I'm a little crazy, but I'm not like, I don't see things.
You hear things.
Do you want to go look at some pictures and quit making fun of me? Did you look in do you know where I am?
Yeah, I've got to pull
My
up
story
already.
pics.
Mm-hmm.
And I made it a PDF because we know how Canva is.
Oh, fun. They'll make it really easy to get the pictures out.
Do what?
They'll make it real fun to get the pictures out to put on social media.
I can share the whole document with you, sir. Anyway, so that first picture is the University Playhouse. So you can see the part of the patio they built there.
It's very 1940s.
Very 1940s. But there is something in me, and I don't know if it's just the way I was raised in theater. You know, I don't know. I don't know what that is for me. But my God, that just like screams theater to me, like old school, good theater. I don't know. That brings me a lot of joy.
And I need you to know most people wouldn't look at that building and be like, that's a theater.
Oh no, in my brain, that's like, as soon as I see those letters on the front, I can tell you exactly what goes on inside there. Like
Okay, you take the word Playhouse off of it.
Then I'm not going to know. But once I see University Playhouse, though, I can tell you like,
so it's not the building, it's the word Playhouse on it.
It's both. It has to be both. Because it doesn't look fancy, does it? No. But I have known so many theaters that look like this on the outside. And then you go inside and you're like, this is freaking cool. There's so much stuff in here.
All right, what's your next
weird.
picture?
I'm weird. So this is actually the Playhouse patio. And you can see one of the masks there that is part of the chimney.
That's terrifying.
No, I think it's so cool.
So like that door thing, it looks like it's covered up now.
That was the fireplace.
Yeah, it looks like you're going to sacrifice somebody there.
Oh my gosh. No, it doesn't.
It looks like you're burning.
Listen, so theater
It's dramatic.
theater as we know it, started in Greece, and they did have, the festivals to Dionysus, all of that stuff. That was not part of it, though. It's like they didn't like bring people to the theater to sacrifice them. They drank some wine.
That's where the understudies get sent.
Okay, then. I just think it's really cool. I love it. I think it's like, I don't know. If I were going to be able to design a theater, I would love to have something unique like this outside of it. Maybe not this, because I guess everyone's going to get freaked out that we're going to sacrifice them or something. But I love the idea that like the smoke comes from the two masks, and that's really cool. And then the next picture is Von Burkholder's obituary and a picture of her. But it talks about how she collapsed and died of a heart attack last night shortly after arriving at the Kansas City University Playhouse. Mm-hmm. It says for a play audition, this is the only thing that says that. So none of the versions of the story had that. But I do hate it because she was only 51.
Yeah. It's also, we've talked about so many haunted theaters.
I know.
On the show.
I love it.
There's always a catwalk.
Well, yeah. There's
always people that shouldn't be up on the catwalk. And almost fall.
Okay, but no one ever told her she couldn't go up there.
No, but
the other person?
Yeah, the other person that someone pushed back.
Yeah, but she was probably allowed to be up there.
But there's always someone like almost falling.
Well, yeah, because I mean, think about theaters. They have really high ceilings.
Right. And I bet no one was around.
Maybe or maybe not. I mean, this is also a different time, so I don't know. Because like modern day, I'm like, no, you do not go up on a ladder or anything unless someone's there.
Cautionary tale.
That's just Anyway, and then the one below that is the Spencer Theater. So this is the new theater that is haunted.
Very fancy.
Very fancy. And one of the major things about this is you can see their catwalk, right?
You can't. That's very exposed.
It's very exposed. Well, there are ways to cover it if you needed to.
3 levels of it.
Yeah, that's what you get when you have enough lighting instruments.
Or 4 levels of it, really.
Yeah, there are. I could talk all day about the fact that they have so much good lighting because of that.
It's also kind of cool how, like, it can be a black box with seating behind the stage, or I'm assuming those move too. So
yeah, it's modular, I'm sure, but it's also proscenium thrust, which is really nice. I love proscenium thrust. I
think that has to be talked about on a different website.
Thrust meaning that the stage is surrounded on 3 sides by audience. Proscenium thrust meaning that we still have a proscenium arch. There you go.
Is this what your intro class is like?
No, there's a lot more cussing. But anyway, so those are the locations that are haunted. Those are only some of. There are more locations on UMKC's web or campus that are haunted. These were the ones I was like, I need to tell the story of Von Burkholder and this theater, these theaters, but also like how cool. Like, she doesn't seem like she has a problem. She doesn't seem like she's like gonna hurt anyone. No. She's really protecting people. It really feels like she is like that. The patron of the arts that's there right now. That's like, I want to make sure the arts happen. I'm going to make sure theater happens. I'm going to make sure it works. I'm going to make sure it's good. Blah 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 blah. And now that she's there in that theater with Casey Rep, I'm like, y'all better be thanking her.
The show must go on.
I'm going to tell you right now, if we had a ghost in VP that I knew the actual like history behind enough to be able to do this, I'd be like, every night at the curtain speech, we're thanking Von Burkholder, the resident ghost theater artist.
The ghost in residence.
The ghost in residence. I was like trying to find that and I couldn't come up with it. Yeah. Our ghost in residence.
Have a reserve seat.
See, I love that. I think that's so cool. And it's like, it's such a good morale thing for your like whole company. Because we all love a good ghost story.
If you love a good ghost story,
could you send it to us?
Share it with us. Visit our website, www.creepycampuspod.com. You can contact us there. You can find old episodes, videos, merch.
Merch.
Why are you saying that with your Australian accent?
I don't know.
It's merch.
It's merch. Are you going to put a picture up of Scully with the merch?
Oh my gosh. I'm surprised we didn't bring him down here.
I forgot.
Yeah.
I was a little bit crazy. But yeah, let's put a picture up of Scully with the merch.
We're naming him Scully. Okay.
That's what literally everyone that responded to my Snapchat of you scaring me while I was cooking with him they were calling him Scully. They didn't even give him an option. They said this is his name.
All right, then.
So his name's Scully, and he wears some of our merch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Send us a spooky story. No, for real. Send us a spooky story. I need help.
Jeremy's tired of doing research.
I'm not tired of doing research. I've been doing it since I was like 18 years old. But I'm also teaching dramatic wit this semester, so I'm harping about research a lot.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. Well, we will see you next week for another episode of Creepy Campus.
In the spoopy times.
It's always the spoopy times, right?
It is. It is spoopy time around here. We never change the spaceman.
No.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.